Welcome to After the 80 Rugby League Ipswich edition. I'm your host, Terry Pascoe. It's grand final week and we have an exciting show planned for you. Now, but first we'll take a look at last weekend's finals games. Jason Brennan from North Tigers and Mitchell Range from Fassifern Bombers will join the panel. And this week's player profile is Stuart Webb from Swifts Bluebirds. Now, if you'd like to join the discussion, you can follow the show on Facebook and Twitter. Just search After the 80 TV. And you can also download us as a video podcast through iTunes, so get subscribing. Now, joining me on the panel this week is Anthony Bomber Breeze, as well as Mitchell Range from Fassifern Bombers.
Hi.
Welcome. And Jason Brennan, back on the show.
Thanks for having me back.
Had a solid debut, so I thought we'd bring you back.
Yep. I think the fans liked it, so I'm back for a encore edition before the season finishes. So.
Excellent. Now, mate, you must be super proud. You've got a huge range of teams in the grand final, obviously A grade being the biggest one, but just missed out on the under-19, so...
Yeah, obviously A grade's the pinnacle of the competition that everybody wants to win, but we've got our under-13s playing on Friday night. And then starting on Saturday, we have the 15s, 17s, reserve grade and A grade. And as I say, our under-19s went down by 2 points. Yeah, last weekend we would have had the clean sweep on Saturday otherwise. So.
And you must be all stoked with you at the helm of the club?
Yeah, it's always, I guess, good to know that what you've done over the last year or two has come to fruition in some ways. I mean, ultimately it's up to the players on the field and the coaches to get themselves into the grand final, but we do what we need to do off the field to make their life a little bit easier, and it seems to have worked.
Speaking of coaches there, you brought Mick Newton back as the A-grade coach. Obviously he's got the boys gelling and going. You've come from fourth position there. He's done a mighty effort.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, you know, Mick was our coach when we won the grand finals in A-grade in 2014 and 15. And he's come back this year and got him to another grand final straight away. So, you know, he's got a pretty impressive resume. He's a great coach to have around the club. For the 2 years that he didn't coach A-grade, he went back and coached our under-17s, who are the majority of our under-19 squad, and those few players that have made their A-grade debuts this year. So he's had a big hand in everything that's sort of happened in the senior club this season.
Now, obviously with his, you know, experience coming up through the ranks itself, it shows that there's a solid bond within the club at the moment, isn't there?
Yeah, there is. I got to the ground on Saturday. Our under-17 side was playing in the preliminary final 3 hours before kick-off in reserve grade, and the majority of our reserve grade side was sitting on the hill there watching the under-17. So that's what you like to see as the you know, the president of a club. That and I believe they'll do the same thing again this week on grand final day. So the older players are there supporting the next generation, and the younger guys will hang around and watch the older guys play later in the day.
Obviously, grand finals are won with experienced players leading the younger ones around. Got a few younger ones, but you've obviously got the experienced one. Josh Roberts has returned in about a month ago there, and Sam Martin was a new addition to the forward pack. Both them are going to play pivotal parts in the game, aren't they? Yeah,
definitely. You know, I think it showed earlier in the year with a little bit of inconsistency in results that we missed Josh's direction around the field. He brings with him a lot of experience, and he's won premierships, and it's just a calming influence on some of the younger guys like Richie Lowe and that when he's alongside them. And Sam's brought obviously a lot of experience. He's won Intrust Super Cup Grand Final and National Championship with the Jets and played at that high level for a long period of time. You throw in other players like Chris Scanlon and Nava and Tim Newton and those sort of guys that have been around when we won the last premierships. We've got a pretty good mix there at the moment of youth and experience. So.
Yeah, your boys are in the grand final as well?
Yeah, under 15s in the morning. My son plays first up, and I'll be out doing first aid duties for that game. So that's exciting, you know, for those sort of kids too. And it's exciting now that they get to play on the big day with the, you know, the A grade, reserve grade under 19. So crowd-wise and atmosphere-wise, previous years they'd had the juniors and senior grand finals on separate days at separate venues, but them getting to be able to you know, get dressed in the dressing rooms and walk down the grandstand there out onto the field like the A graders do is a pretty big moment for those young kids. So.
All right, Mitch, extraordinary year for yourself. Broke your neck.
Yeah, I did.
Mate, what happened? Tell us.
I ended up fracturing the C1 in my neck, so yeah, I've been out for 10 weeks now, and yeah, it's starting to get back to normal. I was in a neck brace so I'd ended up being nearly 8 weeks. So yeah, things are getting back to normal now, but I can run the water and yeah, still help out at training, and yeah, it's going all right. So.
Now, and so will you be able to come back and play eventually, or?
I haven't decided yet. Got to see the specialist again in a few weeks, but there's a possibility I can still play. Yeah, so hopefully, yeah.
Awesome. All right. Now you're a one club player. Why didn't you come into a city club?
I grew up at Peak Crossing, out near Harrisville. There, started playing footy for the Bombers when I was 6. So played all through juniors there, and I never looked like going to a city club. Yeah, never wanted to. Always felt at home there. So yeah.
And how have you rated your season so far? Or not yourself, but obviously the team.
It's been a fair year. Obviously, put a fair few wins together now, and yeah, different to last year. I guess we probably scored a lot more points last year, where this year we can still score the points, but we're defending a lot better, I think. So yeah, there's improvement there.
So obviously, while you're out on the field there, do you say much to the PNG or the Fijian boys? Like obviously they play with a bit of flair and a bit chipping over the top and things like that. So obviously, do you take the game plan out from obviously Roosie to just settle it down a bit, just play a bit of structured football for a while, or is it just ad lib?
There's a basic structure there, but obviously there's a lot of flair there, so you don't want to stop that happening. There's a lot of X factors, so when I was out there, Aaron's out there, we try and steer the team around and let the boys play footy. So.
Yeah, obviously you just mentioned Aaron Adcock. Obviously he was Rugby League Ipswich Player of the Year this year. He had a great season, and he's going to play a big part in the grand final. Not with only his kicking game, but obviously his organisational skills.
Yeah, well, that was a great award to win. I think he might only be the 3rd player in the club to win that award. So he's had a massive year. Had a big year last year, and yeah, he unfortunately didn't make the grand final last year. He hurt his knee in the semi, so he's round to go.
It's a chance to redeem himself.
Mate, your brother was running the water for the side. Well, he did until you took his job.
He did, yeah.
Mate, did he ever give you any advice when you're on the field?
Yeah. He loves his job there. He likes getting out with the boys. He was up me because I didn't let him on the field in the semi. I let him fill the bottles and I was getting out there, but he was into me last night, so I'll let him out there this time.
All right. Well, it was the second weekend of finals football, and it's all done and dusted. Let's grab your thoughts, Bomber, of the under-19s.
Well, the under-19 game, this is a bit of a topsy-turvy game. Obviously, Jason probably doesn't want to talk about it because at one stage it was 18-0 to the Tigers, and they led an 18-0 to lose 28-26. So I'm not sure what happened. Obviously, the half-time speech in the Goodna dressing shed got them going, and they had to play a sin bin too. So obviously it would have been a good day for North. They would have had all their teams there, and obviously you can see 28-26 after an 18-0 lead.
That's right, and I guess, is that sort of standard for young teams? Like we used to see it in the under-20s a lot, where teams would be up 28-0, but within 20 minutes it was 28-all.
Yeah, I think so. It's a little bit different to the older grades. They pretty young, fit fellas, and they once one team gets momentum, it's very, very hard to stop. As Bomber said, Gooden had a player in the sin bin for the first 10 minutes of the second half, and we never touched the ball. It took sort of 13, I think, minutes in the second half before we had possession. By that stage, it was, I think, 22-18 to Goodna, like they'd scored 3 or 4 tries. So momentum's a very hard thing to stop. And I think you're factoring in younger guys with that sort of mental toughness and that sort of stuff, and things get under the hammer a little bit. Mistakes seem to compound. We dropped the ball, they scored, we kicked out on the full, they scored again, like it just sort of seemed to snowball on you.
All right, let's have a look at the footage from the game. So we've got some the footage of the under-19s game. This is a great try at the start. Really looked like he was going straight into touch, but just got the ball down and, yeah, try awarded. Bomber, it was a beautiful day out at North Ipswich Reserve, wasn't it? Yeah, well, earlier on in the day it was there. There wasn't as much wind. It got a little bit windy later on there, but North played that expansive game out wide there, and obviously it did work for them. And like we've been talking about, they got the early big lead, and it was a reasonably hot day there where they thought the Goodna forwards may have weakened a bit, but in the second half they seemed to go through the motions and, yeah, got the job done. So yeah, it was like I said, it's typical from what I've seen of with 19s and 20s football. A lot of ball running, but just also again another great try in the corner. But what I was surprised about is sort of what you touched on. Goodna had to play a sin bin in the first 10 minutes of the second half. in a sense, it was sort of good game management off Goodner to be able to strangle you guys from possession because, most sides, when you're playing with 12 men, it's easy to score a few points.
Yeah, I think so. I think we fell into the trap too that a lot of teams fall into, that you're playing against 12 men, it's going to be a little bit easier. In some ways, we spoke about it after the game, maybe them having to play a sin bin was to our detriment after half-time.
And you see that I know there was a stat in the NRL recently where your team actually lifts when you've got a player down. Mitch, I don't know if that's the same for you. If you know you've got a player down, you sort of lift to the occasion knowing that you have to do that little bit extra work. Yeah,
that's exactly right. Your defence lifts. The boys, you got to dig in when you got a player off the field. And when you're the attacking side with 13 men still, you start probably swinging the ball wide before you really can. So you got to play up the middle first, I think, when there's a player down on the other team.
Well, that was an unlucky try, I guess, for you guys because it was just a simple, he just didn't catch it. The wind would have been playing a huge part of that. It was
very, 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 very windy. I mean, we scored 6 tries to 5 in the game, but as you see from the highlights, all our tries were out wide, and we only kicked the 1 goal. Goodness scored all theirs sort of near the post and kicked 4 out of 5. So. But there was a lot of balls put down. They had credit to their kicking game in the second half. They bombed away at us and some really good spiral kicks there, and our players really struggled with them in the breeze. So
yeah, but they got on the board there through a great try, which we haven't seen a double chip since I think Phil Blake in the 80s there chipped over the top, regathered, chipped over the top again, regathered and scored.
And again, I think that was just before half time, which gave them a big boost going into half time.
So.
Yeah, all right. Well, let's have a look at the reserve grade game now, Bomber. It started off like a good game, but it probably just didn't finish the way that you wanted.
Yeah, well, obviously North's got away to a great lead in this game, and I think they always had the game in control there. I think it was about 24-6 or something at one stage there, and like I said, towards the end of the game there, a bit of niggle got in from Swifts there, but luckily North stayed out of a little bit of it there, and it did degenerate a little bit near the end there, but obviously they got away with the win. So
we'll have a look at some of the highlights now, but I guess Jason, you would have been spewing, you would have been screaming at your players to stay out of it because we see that when fatigue sets in. It was a warm day, even though it was windy. A little bit of niggle comes in, but at that stage they were in the grand final, and you just want to say, "Come on, guys, just think next week."
Yeah, the only thing that can really come out of getting involved in that at the end of a semi-final is missing a grand final next week. So I did go through moments in the second half though of deja vu of the under-19 game when we were up by 18 points as well, and Swifts got back to, I think it was 24-20 at one stage. It got quite close there, and then we obviously got a try at the end to sneak away. But I was having anxiety attacks down the end of the field there, watching it the second half.
Some great ball play there.
Yeah, good try there by Robbie Fletcher there. He's been around for a while there, so he tried hard for the Bluebirds there to keep him in the game, but unfortunately, obviously one man can't do the job. Everybody's got to be on the same page. Unfortunately, there was a few players that obviously weren't on there. But he was there encouraging. But as you can see everyone. Number 6 there for North, Andrew Walker there. He's been a Wallaby and all that there and playing reserve grade. So he's got a great passing game, and his goal kicking was top notch again. And they'll rely on that. They'll need that in the grand final.
Yeah, no, it's going to be an interesting grand final moving forward. But like I said, it was up until, and I guess this is probably where being reserve grade, the fatigue sets in, that boys get a bit restless, and some people probably can't handle the chat that gets thrown around and take it a bit too personally, and that's why they started to get fired up.
Yeah, well, like we said earlier, the only thing at this stage that could have hurt North is, like Jason said, is suspensions, and that's not what you want. You have to try and take that emotional out. I know it's easy to say, but Shane Williams, he tried hard for him. He scored 2 tries, very strong, experienced player, played for the Jets many years ago there. He was back on that side. He led him well there, tried to get him back into the game, but unfortunately it was all in vain.
Now, just my memory just watching the game, you guys end up having one man down. Is there any news from that? Because I heard that it was a headbutt off a touch report. Was that?
That was one of our players was penalised and sent for 10, but on the official sheets that came out, he had no case to answer. So
okay, so that's good.
Yeah,
so you're not missing anyone?
Not missing anyone through suspension or anything like that this week, no.
Excellent.
A couple of little niggling injuries. I mean, the games were pretty tough on the weekend, as you would expect at this time of year, but nobody missing at the moment. So
All right. Well, let's have a look at the A grade competition. Bomber, this was a huge clash and a very topsy-turvy game. It pretty much was going try for try, except for obviously the first probably 20 minutes. But after that, it was try for try.
Yeah, well, if you look at the result there, you'll probably say there wasn't much defence there. And you can probably say there probably wasn't at stages there, but it was a tough game there. Like I said, the game began well with both teams Swifts there, but then Norths got back in it with a try, and then after that it was 14-12, then it was 18-16, 22-20 and all that there. Just kept going like that for the whole game, and obviously with about 7 to go there, Norths got over, and when the hooter went, they were 32-30.
All right, let's have a look at some of the highlights now. Mitch, you must have, as the opposing team, you're looking at who your opposition's going to be. Were you sort of glad that they were belting into each other?
Yeah, I wasn't at the game. We had training early in the day, and Roosie went down and was keeping us updated at the time. And from what I could tell, it was a pretty torrid affair. So hopefully they pulled up a bit sore.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, it was just another where the wind played a part. Now, the wind was going right to left on your screen, so that's where you could see even there that. Now, this is a bit dubious of a try. I don't know if you want to comment on that, Jason.
at the end of the day, it didn't make a difference to the outcome. I was down the other end of the field, so that's the closest I've seen it. But yeah, that was a little bit of a tricky one. You'd hate to see a grand final decided on a decision like that.
But like I said at the start, it was a really interesting one. You obviously started with a try to North, and then it was double to Swifts, double back to you guys, and then it was try for try. And what I was actually amazed is the quality and the speed that was in both sides. There were some huge hits.
There was a very, very physical game. Swifts are a very big pack, and we're going to get the same this week out of Fassifern. And I think that, we've got that, like I said earlier, the good mix of youth and experience, and some of these younger guys around the ruck, Richie Lowe and Dale McDonald, are very quick and nippy.
Now, Richard, do you take anything out of seeing the footage? Like, do you take anything out, like watching North, seeing how they're playing and use it to your advantage?
Yeah, we try not to look at other teams too much. Roosie's not big on doing video on other teams. He likes to concentrate on ourselves. But he did notice a few things in the game that we looked at last night. But
you want to share them with us?
No. But obviously Norths are very experienced, and Josh Roberts is coming into form. His last game against us, I think it was his first game back, so he wasn't himself then, but from what I've heard, he's back in form, and you got blokes like Chris Scanlon that can ball play at the line, and very experienced, winning the 2014 and 15 comps. So,
did you have a preference of who you wanted to play? Like, I know there was a few people that I was talking to that tipped Swifts to win, but Norths got up. Did you have a preference of who you wanted to play?
No, not really. They're two very different sides. Swifts play a power game. They're big boys. Norths, they don't give you much. They complete their sets. And they've got strike weapons like Nava and Josh Roberts, obviously. So, either way, we just got to win the game.
Simple as that, really. Jason, was there a player that stood out for you in your A grade side, the one that really, really turned the game for you?
Probably not turning the game so much, because I think, as Bomber said, it was just a matter of who was going to be in front on full time. They went try for try. I think Josh, probably with his direction around the paddock, he's not his old, younger Josh Roberts who breaks the line and runs 80 metres downfield and scores, but his direction around the paddock, and I think in the middle, Sam Martin, with his aggression at this time of year, he really does get stuck in and almost takes it as a personal vendetta to take on the opposition forward pack. He probably lifts the rest of the forward pack and the team as well by doing that. So.
Yeah, well, like I said, the forward pack, I thought the whole forward pack of North went well. There wasn't anybody that had a blinder of a game, but you don't need someone to have a blinder. If everybody does their job, you'll get the job done, won't you?
It's a pretty simple game, rugby league, at the end of the day, isn't it?
That was a huge run there from the 16. That was just incredible. He just stormed over.
Yeah, he scored 2 tries. I don't think he scored too many tries this year, Timothy, but he got 2 in the semi-final, and this is Big Harold there.
Oh, what defense! I can tell you now, if he was running at me, I think I would be a turnstile. I'll just head, see you, mate. You can just take it.
That's probably the one thing that we have a benefit from with Jared Biggs coming back mid-season is his defence. Also, our last try that ended up winning the game, he ran an inside ball off Josh Roberts, which they've been doing for countless amounts of years, and they tried it 7 or 8 times during the game, and eventually it paid off with the last try. But that sort of understanding those players have, because they've played together for so long, is invaluable.
All right, well, let's take a look at this week's player profile.
My name is Stuart Webb and I'm 25 years old. I play for the Swifts Bluebirds. I started playing at West End when I was 13 and I went to Goodnow when I was 16 and then come out to Swifts when I was 17. My best memory in footy so far would have to be a few years ago when the club won a reserve grade premiership. It's a pretty good memory. My greatest achievement would have to be back in my juniors when I won 3 junior premierships in a row, 13s, 14s and 15s. The player that inspires me would have to be Andrew McCulloch, based on his work rate on and off the ball. He just makes a lot of tackles. It's what I aspire to do. Advice to young players, probably be humble, be willing to learn. If I could be signed to any NRL club, it'd have to be the Broncos. I've followed them since I've been growing up. Not many people know, but it's, the one that I play for. Other than myself, people to look out for in the team would have to be our fullback, Ratu. He's just a weapon, can create anything out of nothing.
Love the confidence there from Stuart Webb now, from Swifts Bluebirds. This week's grand final, let's have a look. Let's see what they're playing for, Bomber. There's your grand final trophy.
That's it. Obviously,
Keep your hands away, Mitch.
one team will get their name engraved on the front there. So,
all right. So let's have a look at the grand final day. It's going to start off with a huge blockbuster game. Well, it starts quite early with some juniors as well, but winning the senior competition from 12:45. We've got Brothers up against Goodnow. It'll be an interesting clash.
yeah, well, Brothers have been the form team of this grade all year. They've only lost, I think, 2 or 3 games. They've had the week off. I think they're back from injuries there. They got their halfback. They probably go into this game as very strong favourites, but obviously grand final days are different things. Obviously players are going to have nerves. It's all right playing in a junior grand final, but a senior grand final at the North Ipswich Reserve with a crowd yelling can do strange things to young kids. So, but I'd be thinking Brothers should get away with this game.
Reserve grade, Brothers and Norse. Going to be a huge game for you guys.
Yeah, it will be a big game. There hasn't been much between these two sides all year. I think they beat us twice during the year. We beat them once. There was never more than a try or 2 between it. And the first semi-final, they beat us 32-20, but they got away later. It was sort of close midway through the second half. So,
yeah, and obviously A grade at 4 o'clock. The Bombers up against the Tigers. Mitch, do you still get nervous even though you're not playing? Are you going to be running water? Are you going to be nervous?
Yeah, I get more nervous on the sideline, to be honest. I'd rather be out there, but they won't change too much. They'll be at the ground about 2:30, trying to keep it as normal as possible, and get ready for the game.
All right, now our After the 80 cameras are coming to North Ipswich Reserve this Saturday to broadcast the grand final live. For those who can't watch the match, here we go.
Live on Phoenix Media this Saturday for the Rugby League Ipswich Grand Final clash between the Bombers and the Tigers. Our live stream telecast will commence at 4 p.m. when our commentators preview the battle that will be played out at North Ipswich Reserve. The Rugby League Ipswich Grand Final, live, with kick-off at 4 p.m. this Saturday on Phoenix Media Hub and on phoenixradio.com.au, Brisbane Youth Radio 1197 AM and DAB+.
All the time we have for today on After the 80. As per usual, thank you, Bomber, for your hard work.
Oh, it's good to hear. We're finally down to the two Two best teams of the year, obviously North or the Bombers. One of them will be taking the trophy home and partying hard. I'm sure both teams will party hard, but obviously the winners party a little bit harder than the losers, unfortunately. So
Well, was it winners have parties, losers have meetings?
that's what they say.
Mitch, thank you very much for your time coming on the show.
No, thanks for having me.
And Jason, again, hope you have a good Saturday and get some wins on the board for North.
Yep, thanks for having me, and good luck to all the teams that are playing on the weekend.
All right, now, if you'd like to join the discussion, you can follow the show on Facebook and Twitter. Just search After the AT80, and you can also download us as a video podcast on iTunes. I'm Terry Pascoe. Thank you for watching.